will come to order, please. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the annual meeting notice was sent to the press, the Down Beach Current, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, on the municipal website, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Would you please take a second and turn off cell phones and electronic equipment? We will stand for the flag salute. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Becker.
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg.
Here.
We have a pleasant exception to our meeting today. We have a swearing in. John?
Captain Bergeron. Like it sounds. Do we do a Bible, or do we have a Bible? And who would you like up here with you? A special lady. Just for the general public, and Ken, please stand here. I just want to say, we went through a process, and we had our certification eligibility from civil service, which Ken passed the test and was eligible since 2013 to become a captain on the Margate Police. Had a recent retirement with a long-time captain and patrolman that was in this city, that gave this city a lot of years of service. He's here with us today. Former Captain Fritz, thank you for coming out. We also have many members of our police department, which you can see the camaraderie and how important it is for them to see their new captain get sworn in. The other thing, we went through an interview process. And through that process, it was a learning curve for me for being newly elected to learn more about our police department and the personnel that are there. And it's an honor for me today to administer the oath of office as police captain to Lieutenant Bergeron. So would you please raise your right hand and place your left hand on the Bible and repeat after me so that they can record this. I state your name.
I, Kenneth Bergeron,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state.
and in this state, for the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of office of captain
perform all the duties of the office of captain
of the police department of the city of Margate
of the police department of the city of Margate
as captain
as Captain
Kenneth Bergeron,
Kenneth Bergeron,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Captain, introduce Jake Randall, Lewis Sleo. Attention for one more item. Would class, Mr. Rando, please come forward. With the efforts of the police chief, the police chief, we now have our second special class 2 officer that is also protecting our streets, along with Officer Perry Cooker in the back Did I say it right? Coker? Coker. So I want to introduce the public to Jake. It's Jake, right? Yes. Jake Rando is our newest addition to our police force as a Class 2 officer, which will be aiding our police officers in the city of Margate, helping out on traffic details and things where we need to fill in to help the residents of the city of Margate. Welcome to Margate. Now we're back. Now we're back to it. Here, we're going to sign it.
Very good, Commissioner. How are you? No complaints at all? Nope. Nice break.
Wife's happy, kids are healthy.
I see your brother all the time.
Bob is
Maybe 3 times a week.
tiny bit.
He's got all the different suitors. You got Elisa working for him out here.
Okay.
That's not a bad addition.
That's not a bad She's very close to my daughter. Kid Lizzie babysat her kids for her. In fact, as they all went up to see Taylor Swift.
Okay. Let's go to work.
Yeah. Your daughter was there. My daughter was there.
Oh, yeah. Guitar around the back. That's like a wedding reception.
I had this in my and she you want me to no, I don't need to do that.
Okay.
Do that. I filed it.
There you go. We will continue the meeting, and as there's no items listed for discussion, we'll begin with department heads. Fred?
Wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. We continue to try and get the One South building ready for all the work that's being done over there. We're pulling out some of the old equipment that's in there and still working on that particular project. Along with that, I'm still moving forward with working with Atlantic City Electric and Verizon to get access to the poles, to have a fiber optic network put in to connect all of our municipal buildings. That's still going on. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other things that I just can't think of right now. So,
Thank you, Fred.
I'll let Maureen.
Maureen?
Everything's going well with the court. We got our audit back and everything's in order. Just, just busy with the influx of traffic and stuff, and just glad to see that we're progressing on 1 South Washington.
Thank
Right?
you. Thank you. Jim?
Long time no see. We just, Scott, I'd like to thank you for that letter for the flood. I think that really helps Roger and I on improving plans and new construction that's coming through. We did another 5 new houses this week, and we're moving forward with that. I gave you a pamphlet on a potential dangerous property on 438 North Vendome. I gave you the violation notice. We're looking to get that building removed at some point. If there's any questions, I think you were in that building with me about 3 years ago.
Yes, we were.
And that's one of my hit list properties that I'm really moving forward to getting removed. We're very busy. There's a couple of kinks we're taking care of code enforcement wise, but I think we're moving forward with getting them more straightened out. And that's all I have to report for today.
Thank you, Jim. Roger?
Nothing to report today, Mayor. Everything is fine, and we're very busy.
Thank you. Scott?
Really, I don't have anything to report at this time unless you have any questions of me.
Mr. Deeney?
I just want to bring to the Commissioner's attention that I've been working with Commissioner Amadeo and the Police Department and Jim and Public Works. We had a meeting this week relative to construction sites, and we're making some minor changes, but I think changes that are going to be significant, and we'll be bringing forward to the Commission a recommendation to change our dumpster ordinance and perhaps other kinds of things similar to dumpsters, with the idea that the police department, because they're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and have to deal with situations in the street, will be not only enforcing but giving the permits and interacting with the contractors as it relates to everything that happens curb to curb. And the construction office is going to be responsible for things on-site on the private property that's under construction. So as we know here in Margate, construction takes place on-site, but a lot of materials sometimes and action and trucks and disruption to the public takes place in the streets. So we want to make it clear that that's the responsibility of the police department. They willingly want to accept it. And instead of referring those matters to the construction office, I think we'll have a much safer and better operation and a reduction in the number of legitimate complaints that come from the public. So we'll be bringing some minor changes to the commission, really just a jurisdictional change, nothing beyond that particularly. I think that's all I have right now, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Deeney. Chief Wilson?
Just like to thank Commissioner Amadeo and his fellow commissioners and Mr. Deeney for today. It's another great day for the police department. We're gearing up for our summer schedule at work. Guys are actively out there enforcing. Our PBOs are now on the weekends and during the week. So, as a notice to the public, we are enforcing the parking ordinances, and we're moving forward and look forward to a great summer.
Lisa?
Good afternoon. First thing, I'd like to give you an update on the rollover of our existing bond anticipation notes. It had been mentioned to you previously a few times that our existing bands of $9,950,000 are coming due on July 21st. I met with bond counsel and our financial advisors, and they are in the process of preparing an official statement, which they will post on July 1st. And the purpose of that basically is to provide information to the potential buyers of our notes and hopefully get us the best rate possible. The rates are still relatively low, so we're hoping, probably in the 1% range. And so we are rolling over the existing amount of $9,950,000. We had appropriated in our 2015 budget $170,000 to pay down the principal on those notes, but then we are also adding to that a new amount to fund existing projects that are ongoing that have been previously authorized. And so the total note that's going to be issued is $15,715,000. And we are going to be closing on the notes on July 20th, and the sale will be on July 9th. So that is going to temporarily finance some of our projects that are out there, and then we will move to go to permanent financing next year. Another update, our beach badge sales were strong this year. As of May 31st, our preseason sales, we sold a total of 38,179 badges. And our total revenue was $242,903, and as of May 31st, that was an increase of approximately $4,800 over the prior year. And also our inventory count was dead on the money, so they're doing an excellent job in that department. And Also, I want to call to your attention, on the agenda is a resolution to renew with the Atlanta County Municipal JIF. You know, we have been with them since, I believe, 2003. Our current loss ratio is at 74%. And it's been the recommendation of our risk management consultant, Dave Miller, who is out in the public to address any questions or concerns you may have. He recommends, as well as I and Mr. Deeney, to renew with the JIF for another 3 years. So if you have any questions, Mr. Miller can address that. And also, so you know, in conjunction, the monthly JIF meeting was yesterday, which I attended, and they are looking to release about $1 million to $1.5 million in dividends on the closed year funds. That will be determined at the next Finance Committee meeting, which I am a part of, in August, and they are distributed to the members of the JIF in accordance with their assessments overall. So, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll get probably around $10,000 dividend coming back to us. And one other thing that's good, as long as our our loss ratio stays relatively low where it is, then next year we should probably remain flat or might even have a decrease in our assessment, especially in light of the fact that the police department will be completing their accreditation certification. So that's a positive to our assessment. That's all I have right now, unless you have questions.
Thank you, Lisa. Before we go to Chief Tabasso, Commissioner Amadeo, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to speak to the public in reference to our prior meeting, which was a capital meeting where we discussed a lot of the improvements and needs that the city has. And what's been in the works for several months, I would say probably back over a year ago, the need for us in our fire department to replace a piece of equipment, which is probably our most valuable piece of equipment, our aerial fire truck, and I believe it is a pumper also.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay.
It's called a Quint. It operates as a ladder truck and a pumper.
Right, and what we did, we had a lot of discussions. I've only been in this discussions for the past month, but a lot of homework and research was done by both our chief of our fire department, our deputy chief, and Fred Verna, our purchasing agent, and we were able to find, shouldn't say we, they were able to find a demonstrator which brings a cost savings to the city of over $130,000. A brand new aerial truck runs from, when it's made to order, $650,000 to $750,000 according to how you outfit it. We're able to purchase this truck for $530,000, which is a substantial savings from what we had escrowed in our capital budget. So with that, I want to turn it over to Chief Tabasso, because he's the professional and he did all the work to get us to this point. And the three commissioners tonight in our capital meeting were all approved. I want to thank Commissioner Blumberg and Mayor Becker for their help helping me along the way, because I've only been on board a little over a month, but they brought me up to date on all the work that was done in the former administration to get to the point we are today. So Chief, you can notify the public of your proud moment and the piece of joy that's going to be received hopefully in the next 2 months in the fire department.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everyone who supported this. From budgeting to planning to research, it was certainly a team effort. For the citizens, I just want them to know that this really has to do with need over everything else. Our truck is old and tired, and we need to perform repairs to it quite often. So we've been planning for this for a couple of years, and it's a much-needed piece of equipment. Again, it's called a Quint. It has an aerial ladder that's 78 feet long, a pump. It operates as a pumper also. It also has a water tank, of 400 to 500 gallons of water that it carries, and it'll be prepared also with EMS equipment. So it goes on almost all of our calls. And I would like to say, if you have any questions about this, please feel free to speak with me or Deputy Chief Adams, and we'd be glad to inform you.
Thank you, Chief. Do you have anything else?
Yes, I do. Also, I'd like to say that the fire department is ready for the summer season. Things are going well there. Also, the beach patrol is prepared for another great summer here in Margate. And to inform everybody also, our fireworks show on July 4th is a go. Everything has been taken care of. We're just hoping for a good night of weather that night, and we should be good with that also. I also want to make note of our annual library event for the fire department. This year, we are going to also include the police department in that event. It's on Wednesday night, June 24th, at the Margate City Library at 6 p.m. It's a great event for the kids of the city and also the adults. And you get to meet the firemen and police and see our equipment, and it's just a good time for everybody that's there. I had one more thing I wanted to share to give my personnel some kudos. Let me start by saying this. Fatal drug overdoses in this country have increased sixfold over the last 3 decades, and now claim over 44,000 lives every year. Opioids in the form of prescription painkillers and the illicit drug heroin are the culprits. And the reason I'm telling you this is because within the last year, the fire department has been trained to carry and administer a drug called Narcan. You may have heard of it. Naloxone is also the proper name for the drug. And basically what that does is reverses the effects of these illicit drugs like heroin. And if you've ever seen it, which I have firsthand, being on our ambulance, it's a miracle drug when administered properly and in time. And I just wanted to make note that within the last few weeks, we had a drug overdose in town where our personnel went and saved the life of a person who had overdosed. I can't really give any more information than that, but it's a success story, and I know I'm extremely happy with the outcome. Thank you, Commissioner.
Good job, and thank you, Chief. Frank?
We've been very busy. Public Works has started in the back of this building, working on the playground back there for the resurfacing of it. We're grading off the surface, and we are waiting for the material to replace in that playground. Then it'll be open to the public. Our beaches are in great shape. I met with the mayor. We decided to put down more basket enclosures and baskets. We put down 42 more receptacles. And I hope that helps the overflow of trash, especially on the weekend. We're also going to start going on the beach in mid-afternoon on the weekends to try to get down there and try to alleviate some of the other trash that's overflowing or too heavy on some streets. Next week is beach stock. We're prepared to take care of beach stock once again this year. We do a lot of work helping set up and breaking it down. It's been a successful event. All we need is some really nice weather, and I'm sure everything will be a great day that day. I also talked with Mayor Becker and about the Public Works yard, and he thinks it's a good idea, and I also do think it's a good idea that we're going to open up our yard longer on Sundays. Instead of from 3 to 6, we would like to keep it open from 1 to 6 to give the out-of-towners more time during the day to prepare to go back home and dump their trash. Very good. That's all I have.
Thank you, Frank. Good job, Frank. Ed?
Okay, we have, I'm just going to report on the active projects. Obviously, the majority of our construction work has come to a halt for the summer months. However, we have projects that are out to bid or have been received. Ventnor Avenue Streetscape, which was a project that was a joint funding of a grant as well as bonded money. We received bids on June 4th. We only had one bidder. The bids were slightly over our estimate. The bidder is qualified, has done other streetscape work in this city. What I have done is forward those bids to our grant coordinator, to Jim Rotella, for him to look at and to run it by the grant agencies to see whether it's acceptable, just being one bid, or whether we should just rebid it. We have the time to rebid it because work can't start until the end of September, early October on these projects, so that may be the ultimate outcome on this. Okay, municipal building emergency generators. Again, there's 2 generators to be installed for the Union Avenue building here. The project was advertised once, was over budget, again, only one bidder, and so we re-advertised it. It's going to be, the bid will be opened on June 24th at 11:30. We did talk to several electrical contractors to ask them why they had not bid it, and the response that I received, I was rather shocked, was that they were too busy. So that's a good thing for them, but it's not something that you seems to be happening everywhere. So the 2014 road program, 14/15, is out to bid. Those bids will also be received on June 24th. And the 2014 state aid, which is Amherst Avenue from Vendome Avenue to Washington, bids were received. That was, we rebid that project. They were received, they came in within budget, and a recommendation letter was forwarded to the city for that project. Again, that project won't start until October, but it was good to get it under the belt. Once we award that contract, we can apply to the state for 75% of the grant total, which was, I believe, $190,000, so we can get reimbursed immediately. So perhaps at the next meeting, we could award that contract. We'll fill out the state paperwork, get it to Lisa, and then we can at least get the 75% of that money back. We completed the update of the stormwater management plan. I submitted that to Jimmy today. It is a requirement of the state as well as something that's necessary for our CRS program. Jim will review it, and if everything looks good, then we will submit that as a final. Let's see. Okay, the municipal building, Union Avenue, Phase 2. We had the pre-construction meeting on June 11th. The contractor who received that contract had Phase 1 and still has about 10% of that contract to be done. He will complete that while he's completing this. The work to be done in this contract essentially is to completely redo everything in the boiler room so that all the heating supply for this building will be, essentially the source will be new. The municipal building, the old municipal building, Washington Avenue building, the contractor is in the building doing demolition within the building. We have been going through the submittal process with them. The majority of the electrical submittals were approved. We're waiting for resubmission of many of the mechanical submittals, and they'll continue. South Jersey gas main installation, you'll still see them around town. They're doing individual services. There's still a number of individuals that have not been connected. They're also doing abandonments of the mains, which these are just isolated locations. They have kept us up to date on where they will be, when they will be there, but until they get everyone tied in with the new mains, they will continue to do that, to do the individual services. And the
disconnect abandonment of the old mains. As part, or I guess relevant to that, there was discussion on the restoration of their trenches and openings, and we have looked at our street opening ordinance and felt it needed to be modified, strengthened, updated. So we just finished today a draft where we have taken pieces of other ordinances, more stringent ordinances, and melded them into our ordinance, and then updated some of our other sections. What I will be doing for next week is giving everyone, the commissioners, the solicitor, the administrator, a copy of the ordinance with the amendments in red. I'd ask you to look at them to make sure everybody is on board with them. It will make our ordinance much more stringent than it currently is. Once everyone is okay with it, then we can go through the advertising process to amend that ordinance. The only thing that's not on my report, but I wanted to report, last Thursday there was a meeting, what's called a JPP meeting. It was a joint meeting of various regulatory agencies, DOT, NJDEP, Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and it was all for a grant that we received for resiliency and strengthening of our bayfront. And what we had proposed was to dredge part of our bayfront, particularly our Washington Avenue Park, with this money, and utilize what is known as thin film distribution of spoils disposal. It became evident at the meeting that none of these agencies really likes the process. So at a subsequent meeting this morning with the administrator and the grant coordinator, it was suggested, and it was also suggested by the agencies, that we take the money that we have in this grant and utilize it to develop permitting, design, presentations to them for a more global picture. Essentially, look for another method of disposal, something that would not necessarily just be utilized for that one small space, but something that we could use as well as our sister communities could use for disposing of dredge materials. I thought that was a great idea. Apparently, and one of my environmental scientists who was at the meeting told me that she spoke with several of the department heads there, and they all agree that we need to look at this. We need to look at Absecon Island. We don't need to just look at Margate, one little pier. So what I am proposing is, I think at the last meeting we had talked about bringing Dr. Stu Farrell on board. I'd like to schedule a meeting with Dr. Farrell next week, and if the solicitor is available, I certainly would like him to come, and I want to speak with him and get his guidance on what direction we should go with this funding, what he feels would be the best solution for our disposing of our dredge materials. I've also been in communication with other municipalities on an informal basis who are going through the same process as we are, and it would probably behoove us to meet with other municipalities, or at least their professionals or some representatives, to talk about how we should accomplish this. So it was a good meeting this morning. I think it would be an excellent use of the funds because it would move us one step further to where we want to be, being able to dredge our whole bayfront. Another conversation that I did have with one of the DEP members was that asking if there are sandy funds left. And they led me to believe there are sandy funds left if we can prove that the dredged areas are in need of dredging because of sandy. Now, I started to go through my records, and I found soundings for various places over the past several years before Sandy. our post-Sandy planning grant that's being done right now, part of that is we're having an entire bathymetric survey of the entire Back Bay. So that will give us now, and it'll give us post-Sandy. Those are the two pieces that we need to try to go after some of the Sandy money, because we'll actually have quantitative data on what it was like before Sandy and what it's like after Sandy. So the dredging has been consuming quite a bit of my time, but I feel it's a fairly important item, and I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed. I've also met with our Coastal Coalition group, and our tasks now are being shifted from the flood maps to the dredging situation. And there's another group that I'm part of, which has been put together by Cape May County, and particularly Marty Peglugi. Peglugi is the mayor of Avalon. Several professionals, including and very valuable. Dr. Farrell is on that team. We're rewriting the dredging manual. So this problem is being hit from several different directions, and I'm hoping that ultimately we can have more navigable waterways as a result. That's it.
Thank you, Ed. Commissioner Blumberg, you have anything?
Yeah, just one thing. I want to thank Lisa very much for all the hard work that she's done with the JIF and in conjunction with the JIF, all the time and effort that she's put in to help save taxpayer dollars. And with that, I'd like to ask Dave Miller to come up and just give us one minute on what good things the JIF's doing for Margate, and tell the public about our preferred rating that we have. Please, since you came.
Sure. Thank you for hearing me. The preferred rate is in comparison to your other members. As you know, the ACMJIF stands for Atlantic Cape Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. It's most of the towns. Can't say all of the towns. Most of the towns in both of those counties, and a few sprinkled in Cumberland County. In comparison, you are probably in the top third as far as loss ratio goes in comparison to your peer towns. There are some that are over 100%. There are some that are well over 100%. And then there are some real small towns, Weymouth, Carmen City, things like that, that may have no losses the whole year because they have no exposure. They only contribute maybe $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to the fund. Some of the things they do is they are constant updating of your safety training, and most of that is moving online or on DVD now. So you don't have to send the majority of your employees out to get trained. You can do a lot of that in-house now. There are some mandatory ones that still have to take effect. Lifeguard, Public Works Roundtable, police. But other than that, most of the training is able to be done online. Training usually is a direct result of a lower loss ratio. Workers' compensation. Majority of the loss ratio for both Margate and the Municipal Insurance Fund. One of the reasons I recommended, the primary reason I recommended is all your peer towns belong along the coast to the JIF, with the exception of the big city down the street. That's the only one that's out on their own. As far as property goes, with Sandy just hitting, I have a much higher comfort level that your peer towns are all in the same boat. If there's a property issue, you have strength in numbers. Outside to an outside fund from North Jersey or something, and you're the only fund along the coast, they might say 98% of you don't have that property problem. Our members are well served, with the exception of you. Questions that you have in general?
We're fine. Dave?
Mayor?
Yes.
I'd sent a memo with my recommendation to you, and in it, I remember saying, and something that gets talked about here a lot, but not in the context of insurance, and that is shared services. And there's not a single example in the state, and perhaps not in America, where there's a better example of shared services of municipalities than the JIF. And it gets forgotten sometimes because the JIF has been so successful for so many years. There are a number of JIFs in joint insurance funds in the state. They were formed about 30 years ago, and I remember when they were formed, when there was no ability for municipalities to get certain kinds of insurance back in those days. And the groups got together, the municipalities got together and formed these. By getting together, it's the very definition of shared services for municipalities. And if you have any comment on that, Dave, because I don't have an accurate comment to make relative to dollars saved, but
I can tell you approximately on that
good.
comment.
That's what
on
I
that
like.
comment. Workers' compensation, if you went with the state rates, if you're familiar with the state rates, they are for different classifications. The state promulgates a rate based on the amount of premium paid in or assessments and the amount of losses that occur for that, such as a carpenter may have one rate, a roofer may have a higher rate, a clerical person has a low rate, okay? You take those rates, the joint insurance fund that you pulled your services, just for the workers' compensation probably saves you enough money for the whole program. If you take your whole assessment as what you would just pay in workers' compensation if you went out and get the state promulgated rates. So the safety is a primary issue. And in Dovetail, we were at the meeting yesterday, and they sent a representative to the Prima conference in Texas. And it was amazing the two people that went on how much ahead of the curve we are on safety committees, safety training, safety online, that brings those lower rates to our two counties because the workers are trained in things that around the country that they're just going out and performing duties and having injuries.
Thank you, Dave. Commissioner Amadeo?
Nothing.
I have nothing. At this point, we will open to public comment. As we usually do, you have 3 minutes, the items to be discussed today.
Stephen Altman, 9003 Amherst Avenue, Margate. Quick question for the fire chief, if I may. When will the new truck be in service?
Steve, would you please ask your questions through the chair?
Yeah,
That's the way we do this.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask the fire chief when the new truck will be in service?
I will relay the question.
Thank you, sir.
Tell me why don't you ask?
I would say realistically, we have a 60 day.
Mr. Mayor, what happens to the old truck?
That hasn't been determined yet.
Thank you.
We're looking at options on that.
Over the years, I've had a lot of opportunity to experience the fire department in a number of its aspects, and I have the greatest respect for all of the people that I've come in contact with. But it was my privilege to sit on the police orientation that Mr. Deeney referenced earlier, and I absolutely was blown away. I've given Fred a hard time over the years about the terrible acoustics that this sound system produces, but to see the work that he did in the police department is absolutely dramatic. It gave me a whole new view of his expertise. I was impressed with the security getting into the building, impressed with the security getting out of the building, and the communications systems. I wish everybody in Margate could have an opportunity to see what I saw. Everything was just superb, except for when Mayor Becker tried to lock me in a cell. Other than that, it was a remarkable afternoon. And thank you, Chief, for letting me out. I hope that at some point a video of that facility and the professionalism of the police department would be demonstrated so that people throughout the city could see it. It just blew me all away.
15 seconds, Steve.
I'll let it go at that, sir. You can save the 15 seconds.
We can't bank them, Steve. Thank you.
Oh, and Mr. Deeney should be congratulated for his role in that orientation. They got down to the very second that they said the meeting was going to last. I haven't seen organization like that, I don't think, in my life.
It's true.
Anyone else? Public comment?
Sewell, 22 West Drive. Mayor, a Class 2 officer, I believe, is authorized to issue summons for dogs on the beach. May I implore you to have them, particularly on the early hours of the weekend, out there and enforcing the existing city ordinances concerning dogs on the beach. In addition, there must be sufficient signage, both left and right, on both sides of all entrances and both sides of the bulkhead side, on the ocean side, for a total of at least 4 signs, because I don't like to see visitors to the town nailed for an expensive summons when they haven't been given adequate notice. Now, Mayor, don't try to multitask at your stage of the game. Also, Mayor, it's no secret that we maintain staffing levels to not only meet summer months, but off-season shoulder and winter months. This raises the issue once again of compliance with state statute, mandating a canine and feline census and registration. And as Chief Wolfenson has already called the city administrator Deeney's bluff and has agreed to perform the state-mandated census, provided additional revenues realized be allocated and assigned to the police budget. And I think this would cover the Class 2 officers. And it's tens of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands that we let go by the wayside. And it creates, when we don't have an accurate census, it puts each and every officer at risk when he responds to a call, not to know that there might be a pit bull or a Rottweiler on the other side of that door. But with this census information, it would be at the tip of the chief's fingers. So I strongly urge us not only to recoup this lost revenue, you're allowing tens of thousands of dollars to be thrown down the toilet. And it shouldn't be. The mayor should realize his recognition when he took that solemn oath to uphold the New Jersey State Constitution and its state statutes. And this is one of the statutes that must be complied with. And I call for immediate compliance. The chief is ready, willing, and able to do it. And therefore, I urge, take up his offer. Last but not least, Chief Tabasso. 15
seconds.
We'll wrap it up in 15 seconds, Mayor. Keep your shirt on. If it is not a departmental policy already, this so-called miracle drug, Narcan, there should be payment and compensation both for the drug and its administration. It should be no different than having an ambulance show up and take somebody to the hospital. It's a similar type of service, and the person who wants to misuse and abuse narcotics should pay for that. It's an assumption of the risk. And I fall on the side of making these individuals pay for their narcotic use. And I would also, Mayor, ask that the chief follow up on an investigation. Where are they securing these narcotics in Margate? I think it should be a dual operation. And I encourage this commission to take this issue up and to follow through on it. You have an obvious misuse and abuse of narcotics, illegal, then let both departments be involved. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, John. All right. Tony, did you want?
Just one quick answer for Mr. Sewell. Margate practices ambulance billing, so any patient that we take is billed for that cost, and it's billed to their insurance. And
They're billed. It's in the cost of the ambulance call.
we would say that we buy it, but that covers our costs for billing. And it's a very minimal cost. John?
Thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, other distinguished people at that table.
Your name and
My name is
address.
Stanley B. Waldman, W-A-L-D-M-A-N. I live at 7400 Bayshore Drive and have been there since August of 2000. I have sort of a bifurcated problem here, some with the city and some with the person who lives across the street. In 2006...
Stanley, our normal procedure, I assume you're talking about something other than what was discussed at this meeting. You'll have an opportunity, not now, at the beginning of the next meeting, to talk about items other than what was talked about.
My apologies, I was told to come here...
No problem. You got about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
And now, later?
Yeah, about 10 after
Right.
5.
We're about to adjourn this meeting. We start the other one 5 minutes later, and it's at the beginning of that
At my
meeting.
age, I can afford 5 minutes, not much more.
Are you sure? Any other public comment? Is there a motion to close public comment?
Move to close public comment.
I'll second that.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes,
Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
We will take 5